Hello, my name is Kyle Slater, and this is my overview presentation where I will be discussing my progress throughout ABA 620. We're going to begin with SAF meds, and we're going to talk about adjustments that I made and whether or not I think those worked. Um, so let's move over to Precision X. This first week of SAF meds right here, I believe the first data point is all the way down here. I got a 0. It was a daunting first week. I was new to an online interface. I had been out of school for 5 years, and I was really putting a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that I was doing everything right. I was setting good precedents. And so I think that, along with a study method that wasn't really quite adequate, is why we're seeing these data points that we see here. During this first week, my study methods were going through a deck front to back 3 times a day prior to my timings. And when that didn't seem to really be all that fruitful, in the next week when I hit my aim, I believe I made a adjustment either in week 2 or week 3 where I decided to move to studying my deck 5 times front to back each day. And if I had the option to, I was using the filter where you can only do your cards that you got errors on. That way, any ones that I was missing consistently, I was making sure that I was trying to solidify those terms so that I could meet and maintain the aim more often. And I think that that study method or that adjustment to my study methods proved to be pretty beneficial because in deck 2 and deck 3, within the first week, I was meeting my aim and then maintaining it with pretty low moderability following. So we still have one more week to go in deck 3. So there's some data points that aren't here, but I imagine that it'll look something like this 3-week span with deck 2. Um, so I think that my study methods have proved to be pretty fruitful after the adjustment that was made. I'm also finding that the terms that we go over in SAF meds, I'm thinking about them all the time. I'm using them in conversations with coworkers, with BCBAs, in session, outside of session. So it's just constantly got terms running through my head now. So I think that's great. Um, as far as goals and whether or not they were achieved, I'm going to pull up my discussion post from week 1. In the discussion post from week 1, I labeled my goals as I wanted to maintain a study plan. I wanted to take stock and insights from my professor and fellow colleagues, and lastly, get an A. Um, addressing this A first, I think I'm on the right track. I've gotten great participation points. All my stuff has been turned in on time. And so far I haven't been docked any points in anything. So I think that we're on the right track as long as the midterm turns out the way I planned for. Um, let's see, maintaining a study plan. Like we said with Precision X, after adjusting my study plan somewhere between week 2 and 3, I was able to really hone in on that study plan, and I was doing that each day. And it turned out that having a online interface was actually a little helpful. I could bring my computer and SAFMEDs with me to work, and I could do them before work. I could do them in the middle of the day when I wasn't in session and waiting for a new session to start, or I could just wait till I got home. So at all moments of the day, I was able to be exposed to my SAF meds and I was able to study. And it was really easy to follow that study plan. It was rather simple and it proved to work out, I think. So I was really happy with how I was able to maintain that. As far as taking things away, or not taking things away, excuse me, as far as taking away insights from my professor and fellow colleagues, um, from Professor Luke, I took a lot of insights as far as how to navigate Brightspace in D2L. That was super helpful because I was really concerned with online interface and whether or not it was going to be a good fit. Secondly, the main takeaway that I took was in reading research articles. While we had some assigned in the course, I also had some assigned to me from my BCBA at work. And all that reading, I thought to myself, wow, this is going to take forever. But it was super cool to hear Professor Luke say that you can kind of pick and pull what you're reading. You can, read your abstract, read the good chunk of the beginning, and you can kind of skim over the middle and then go to your results section and really get an idea of how a certain study would have been ran if that's what the article is on. So that was a really cool takeaway. As far as for my fellow colleagues, the discussion posts have been huge for that. Because if we're writing a discussion post and I post mine and I'm thinking to myself, I really don't know if I understand this topic, if I don't know if I understand the theory behind this, I could go through and read all of my classmates' discussion posts and kind of get an idea of how they perceived the terms, how they perceived what it was that we were, discussing. And through that, I was able to kind of get more solidified terms and ideas in my head. Um, so I think it's been super helpful to have all of this information from so many different people at the ready. And that concludes my overview presentation. Thank you for your time.